Now more than ever, this is how we need to be. Can we try a new endeavor? Holistic trilogy. It's a total celebration. In a way it all makes sense. It can cause a new sensation. Live your life in confidence. Can you feel it? Can you see it? Can you hear it? It's mind, body, spirit. Podcasting from a town called Manalapan, New Jersey. This is That Oneness Guy, a podcast covering the many aspects and elements that embody oneness. I am your host, Danny Rongo. And yes, I am that oneness guy. As an author, singer, songwriter, and a podcaster, I continue to spread my message of oneness. So if you haven't seen it yet, these podcasts now have an official home. That's right. You can now watch and listen to all the podcasts from me, That Oneness Guy, all on my newly designed and interactive website. So like I said, if you haven't seen it yet, my friends, just visit thatonenessguy.com to see it all. The site also contains my blogs, vlogs, interviews, and information about my 2 books of oneness. So by all means, please check it out. So let's get right into podcasting. If you've been following along here in season 4, you know that I'm on a specific trend. I've been reaching out to fellow humanitarians who, in their own unique way, are advocating in the service of giving back. Now, these individuals are taking measures to help society, to help me, to help you, to help our world in general, and to add awareness to the constant rise in oneness that we're all getting to witness. So now my next guest falls so perfectly into that category. Let me tell you a little about Maslow. First, many of you listening might recognize the name, although it is spelled slightly different, okay? But those like myself who have spent years listening to the teachings of Wayne Dyer, you'll recall that he mentioned a specific individual quite often, and that was Abraham Maslow. Now, Abraham Maslow was an American psychologist who was best known for creating Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which is a theory of psychological health predicated on fulfilling innate human needs in priority, culminating in what he termed self-actualization. Well, my guest today uses Maslow's hierarchy of needs as the foundation of their service. Now, here is their mission statement. It goes like this. We are a conscious business implementing Maslow's hierarchy of needs from top to bottom. We are addressing the top 3 layers of the hierarchy through a oneness movement. Our goal is to use the power of higher consciousness to move towards self-actualization. We are addressing the bottom 2 layers through a basic needs campaign and an economic opportunity program for those in need. We believe that in order to self-actualize or to reach oneness, it is necessary to lift up those in need. We invite you to join our oneness movement. So, my friends in oneness, please join me and say hello to my new friend, Rohit from Maslow. Rohit, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing good, Danny. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here. I've looked at your website and, I feel like we're so aligned and on this movement towards oneness. And I'm just really grateful that you invited us on here so that we could have a conversation. So thank you so much.
Oh, please. It's wonderful. And I like to tell my friends who've been following along, I like to have a kind of like an introductory chat prior to every podcast, so I get to know folks like yourself. And for those listening, I did have that chat with Rohit and one of his partners, Ravi, just a few days ago, and it was awesome, my friends. Again, this trend of mine in this season has been to reach out to these like individuals and to find someone just along the lines of Maslow, like an organization that's specifying oneness, all right, everywhere from top to bottom through their mission statement, in their efforts. Rohit, it's just great. So I'm very, very happy that I got to know you and to Ravi, and I look forward to meeting your other co-founder, Greg, too, at some point in time. So let's get right into it, my friend. Why don't you tell my listeners, tell my friends out there, what is Maslow? What are you guys? What are you doing?
Sure.
Take it from
Sure,
there.
absolutely. So I would describe it succinctly as a oneness movement, first and foremost, helping those in need. So there are kind of two major prongs to what we're trying to do. The real focus of our mission is to build a oneness movement to increase consciousness. And we are creating content on Instagram. We will be launching a YouTube channel. We are going to be writing blogs, all discussing the nature of consciousness, new ideas in consciousness, how to bring humanity together through this expanded awareness. So that's kind of, I would say, the main thrust of what we're trying to do. But in addition to that, we have a social impact, and we are addressing economic and basic needs in underdeveloped parts of the world.
Wow.
And that's related to this whole Maslow hierarchy, which we can get into.
Yes.
But we are basically trying to support basic needs. Right now, we have one campaign going in Africa, which we can talk about. And then we're also trying to provide economic opportunities for those in need, and they make our products as well. So we're basically a oneness movement, and we're trying to build a oneness economy, I think, is a good way to describe it.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful. How did you come to find your co-founders?
Well, one of my co-founders, Ravi, has been a longtime friend of mine.
I was going to say, have you guys been friends prior to this? Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, we had another venture going many years ago. It was not a social impact venture. It was more of a mainstream traditional. It was a sandwich shop. And it turned out that we didn't do very well, and we also felt like we weren't.
What kind of sandwiches were you making, if you don't mind?
We were doing sub sandwiches.
Nice.
It was a kind of like a gourmet sub sandwich place. It's a really good food.
You should have been back here in Jersey, buddy, because like as you remember from your Jersey roots, that sub sandwiches here are still huge,
yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Well, there's a place in Jersey that's doing real well, I hear. But that was not us, and as we were doing this, we were losing a lot of money. And then we also felt like we weren't really aligned with, our higher self. And we were wasting a lot of material, throwing food away, throwing trash in the trash can every day.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, what's going on here? Like, how is this helping the planet? How is this benefiting anybody? And also we weren't making money, so that wasn't fun either. So finally, that's kind of how I got to know Ravi really well through that venture. And then Greg, our other co-founder, he was a friend of Ravi's in Vancouver. I think they met in a workspace a couple of years ago, maybe, or a year and a half ago, when Ravi was trying to think about doing a social impact venture after this whole Planet Stuff thing got over with. And so he met Greg at some kind of workspace, and they got to talking about things, and one thing led to another. And Greg is deeply spiritual, and he's added so much to our venture. So that's kind of how that got into play. And then I actually emailed Ravi several months ago, and said, "Hey, look, I've been doing a lot of meditating. I've had these profound spiritual experiences. Can we do something with that?" And he said, "Hey, look, I've already got a venture going on over here. Why don't you come in?" So that's kind of how the whole thing happened.
Wow, it's wonderful, and it sounds very organic, to say the least, right? How you guys all came to meet with that spiritual foundation, which is just lovely, to be quite honest with you. And you're starting to catch more and more of that. I know that I am. From the people that I've come to speak with, come to know, just through this circle, Ravi, of oneness. I mean, I'm sorry, Rohit. It's an R thing with me. So I'm sorry.
Sure. No worries.
But just the people that I've met, Rohit, from this have been, it just thrills me to find that so many other people out there are on their own spiritual journeys, and so I can just imagine how you guys felt when the three of you got together, and then all the juices started to flow, as they would say, and you guys started to put your thoughts down, and you say, okay, here's what we can potentially do. Now, Speaking of thoughts like that, I actually mentioned up front Abraham Maslow. So who had that concept or that thought process for that concept to use his hierarchy of needs? And were you a fan of him prior to this? Obviously somebody was. So why don't you
Yeah,
tell us a
yeah,
little bit how you got into, Abraham Maslow?
sure, absolutely. So I think, like as I mentioned, Robbie was thinking about doing a social impact venture, and he was trying to figure out a good need to address, and he came up with basic needs. And so he was talking to a friend, I think maybe a client of his, and he was explaining this, hey, I want to do a social impact venture and I want to address basic needs. And I think that guy said, hey, why don't you call it Maslow? Because there's this hierarchy out there, and at the bottom of it is basic needs, at the top is self-actualization. And Robbie, I think, was also interested in Maslow, prior. And then I think at the same time, Robbie had been hearing other people talk about some experiences, deep spiritual experiences they had been having. I think there was like 5-MeO, DMT. It's a psychedelic, and people were talking about, unity and samadhi. And so he was like, okay, well, there's a self-actualization. Maybe we can bring that in. And so that's kind of how Maslow came in there. So it wasn't actually through us, but myself, I'm a big fan of Maslow. I've been for a long period of time. Think he has some phenomenal ideas, and just this whole concept of, before we can really move forward and self-actualize, we kind of have to have the basics in place. And I think that's so true, because if you can't feed yourself, how are you going to go out and meditate?
Yes, which is why, yeah, exactly. I was always been attracted to the actual pyramid concept of it, and for my friends out there who are just listening in, he puts it in an image, but it's an actual pyramid, and it's in a pyramid form, and on that widest part of the bottom, all right, which is where your social impact basic needs program is focusing on right now. He actually terms it his physiological needs, which include everything from air, think about it, air, water, food, shelter, sleep, clothing, and it also says reproduction as well too. But that bottom rung of that pyramid is put in place just to address those basic needs. And then from there, as the pyramid gets closer and closer to the top, it becomes like one builds off the other. Yep. Right, with the pyramid. Sure. So it goes from what he says here, the physiological needs on the bottom. Above that, he leads into what he calls safety needs, which is personal security, employment, resources, health, property. And then now you're in the middle of the pyramid, and that's what he dubs that as love and belonging, which would mean your friendship, your intimacy, your family, your sense of connection. And then above that, he has esteem, which is the second from the top. And for there, he talks about respect, self-esteem, status, recognition, strength, and freedom. And then finally, his top part of the pyramid is what he calls self-actualization. And that's from that term is how I started to read more and more into Maslow through Wayne Dyer, because Wayne Dyer used to reference just that term so often. People who live in self-actualization. Which Maslow states that as a desire to become the most that one can be. Now, what's weird about it, Roa, too, is that so many of, I don't want to call them naysayers, but so many of the people who might look at something like that, you can find this online as well, too, deem that Maslow was kind of a narcissist, maybe, to think that maybe, you're saying desire to be the most that one can be had a negative connotation about it. But that wasn't his sense at all.
Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah. I think there are a lot of criticisms of Maslow, and by no stretch of the imagination are we necessarily saying that this is the only way to think about things. In fact, we've got other ideas as well. Absolutely. But I do think it is a useful way of kind of thinking about a human existence and human needs. And regarding the self-actualization part, being the most that one can be, I think rather than looking at it from that it's like a narcissistic thing, I think it's really like, how can we really give back to humanity? Like when we're self-actualizing and living in our truth, it's like we're a blessing to other people, right? It's not like we're selfish and we're taking from other people. We're like bringing that light that we have inside of us
Well
which
said.
is a deep spiritual thing. And I think we are, it's almost the antithesis of narcissism in my
Yeah,
view.
yeah, and it is to me as well too, you know. But it's just funny how even when people would try to do something good like Maslow did, you still have a couple of people out there who'd be saying, "Well, what is this guy talking about? Being the
Sure.
actual most that one can be." And that's a foundational element of oneness, if you ask me, is to be everything that we can be.
Well, and to just to add to that, at the highest level, people talk about the higher self or God, which I think ultimately is our true nature. And, to be all we can be really is to connect to that divinity that's inside of
Absolutely.
it. So that's, I don't know anything that's more positive than that, to be honest with
No,
you.
no, there's not. And it's our divine right to reach that level
Yeah.
of self-actualization where we know what we are, we know who we are. And it's funny too. I recently started following Jay Shetty, um,
Yeah.
who I think is an amazing individual. So I've been listening to his podcast and I've been reading his books. I'm reading his book for the second time right now, and he actually said something that stuck with me, and it's along these lines. He took the quote that's, how people say, like, you can be anything that you want to be. He says, you can't be anything that you want to be. He goes, but you can be everything that you are. And I think that gets back to what we're talking about self-actualization, like what you are. It's like, like to think that you can be a professional football player when you're 5'5" and maybe like 85 pounds. No, so you can't be
Sure.
anything you want to be. But
Sure.
whatever you are inside, right?
Sure.
When we come to uncover, as I like to say, oneness in our lives, you can be everything that you are. And I thought that really hits. And it meant a lot to me when I heard it. I get really involved when I'm reading and listening to things, and I write it down. I said, that's really cool. So, friends out there, if you haven't tuned into anything yet by Jay Shetty, please do. So, let me ask you something else, my friend. So we started speaking about the Basic Needs Campaign.
Yep.
Tell us about the Kibera slum and all
Sure.
that this is, because when I first heard that you guys were talking about this and aiding this area, I looked it up right away, and the
Yep.
stuff that I found online was just riveting. It just tugged at
Yeah.
my very soul. Like the word slum is attached to this region of Kenya, folks. So
Sure.
Robert,
Sure.
tell them about it.
Well, the Kibera is a slum. It's near Nairobi. Estimated population could be varying from 200,000 to 1 million, and it's maybe one of the largest, or maybe the largest slum in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And we were very fortunate to be able to do our beginning work over there. And but the people there, they've been really hard hit economically by COVID. In fact, our partner over there, Eric Akot, who makes bracelets, which we can talk about a little bit later, he
Absolutely.
had to sell all of his equipment. He had to sell basically his business is shut down. And now he's working with us, and hopefully, through our venture, he can get back to work and put more people back to work over there. But so yeah, the Kibera, it's the people there, they're really beautiful people. They've got a lot of talent, but they've been really hard hit by HIV. A lot of the people there are orphans. In fact, our friend there, Eric, is an orphan, and his two brothers are as well.
Oh, he is. Wow.
Yeah, he's an orphan. His two brothers are, and drug and alcohol addiction are not uncommon. It's basically like a feeling of hopelessness. It's like, what are we supposed to do? The world has turned its back on us almost, and they've got talent and abilities, and so we're trying to learn more about that region. And hey, we want to go in there and we want to see if we can help them out and develop like a oneness economy over there, and put people to work and pay them a fair trade wage and clean up the area. It's a really grand vision, I know, but if people can get behind us and we can join together, I think we can make this happen.
Absolutely. And I would like to say, for my friends that they're listening, Rowan's going to share all the info about the website, but if you can multitask for a second, just go to their website, themazlow.com, and go to social impact page, and then just scroll down and just look at some of the images. Now, these are just a few that they have up there, but it shows the despair that's there. And, it's recognized as a slum. And it just breaks your heart when you see these images. So it so needs our attention. It so needs people in general just to get behind this and to help. So speaking of helping, Robert, when like people can visit your site here, how is the best way that they can help to support this basic needs operation in Kibera?
Sure. Thanks. Yeah. So for the basic needs operation and the economic opportunity program that we're offering over there, the best way you could support it is to buy the copper bracelet that we offer. We have 4 products right now, which we can talk a little bit about later. But the copper bracelet is made in the Kibera by our team over there, and we're paying them a fair trade wage. And as I said, they've been really hard hit economically by COVID. They're out of work right now. So, if your listeners want to support, go in and buy that bracelet. It's going to help put them back to work. And it's going to help us continue our basic needs operation over there, because we fund that through revenue. So every time you make a purchase, it basically is going to allow one basic need to be donated. It's 10%. We're doing 10% of our revenue, which basically translates to one basic need roughly. So the more sales we get, the more that we can invest in the Kibera. So that's the best way you can help our basic needs operation there.
I'm just scrolling here too. I don't know why I'm hearing that echo here, but I hope that's not coming through. It's just so touching. It really is, some of the images. But I got to tell you, like, what I love the most is to see, like, the fellows that you have on the ground there working, wearing your T-shirts, making the bracelets by hand. Folks, it's great. You gotta check this out. It really is touching just to see what they're doing, and the measures that are being placed for this. It's wonderful. So now we have what you said. We have the 2 bracelets.
Yeah, we've got 1 copper bracelet that is made in the Kibera, and then we've got another bamboo bracelet that's made in India, also by people who are in need of economic opportunities. We went through another vendor to get that made, because we're still ramping up, and eventually we'll want to get all our products made in the Kibera, but hopefully that will happen as we grow. But the bamboo bracelet is made in India by those in need. It's a super good cause as well. And in addition to that, we've got 1 T-shirt and 1 tote bag, and all our products are eco-friendly, made out of recycled material. You can check out the descriptions on the shop page of the website. And all of them are made by fair trade. It's made by people who are in need of economic opportunities.
And so, the T-shirt, my friends, is very cool. I love that T-shirt. I love the logo. The logo is great. Like I told you guys the other night, that's it's just so very cool. So, all right. So now we're talking about the basic needs campaign. What is let's look forward for a second here, and as we apply this to the hierarchy, to the pyramid from Maslow, what would be our next step here? Say, like, if we meet a specific level through like basic needs, and then they come up, maybe either a portion of the area itself gets to, maybe live better from those basic needs. What's the next step for them? How do we keep things going? Is it through an education? Is it through employment? Why don't you give us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think it's really important to understand that we're not trying to give them handouts.
Yes.
We're trying to create a situation where they can begin to help themselves. And I think many people have tried handouts. There's a lot of debate about that, and we don't want to go down in that route. Instead, we want to bring the power of oneness. So, by creating these economic opportunities and doing this basic needs campaign, and at the same time, our team on the ground over there in Kibera, they're also aligned with this oneness concept. And we want to teach them how to take care of the planet, take care of their area. Let's not pollute the ground. Let's not throw our trash in anywhere. Let's clean it all up. Let's try to develop sustainable farming and agriculture, and let's really align with everything that's related to health and everything that's related to life, that's promoting life. let's move in that direction. And as we do that, my hope is they will also grow.
Yes.
They'll be, aligned with that and see the value in that, and also take responsibility, so that they take control over their health and well-being. So that's kind of what our vision is.
And we can only hope that after they get to a point, like you said, maybe if a majority of the basic needs are met, then they can come to understand more about, to your point, oneness in general, and like how we have to recognize that we are one with the planet. And obviously when one cares for themselves more, then you in turn naturally care for your surroundings more, you in turn care for the planet more in general. So that would be just such a great launching pad for them. But again, they're in such dire straits, my friends out there listening, that it's like tough to think about anything beyond survival, right, Rohit? From now, at least.
Yeah, absolutely. If I were to go and say, hey, they need to start meditating, they need to start caring for the planet, it would be very presumptuous, because they're not even able to feed themselves. So
exactly.
like I'm sitting here in a nice house, and and in the US, and I've got my needs provided for, so I can meditate every day. We can talk about consciousness and all this good stuff, but that's not the case for them over there. So yeah, they definitely need that little push and help and support, but at the same time, we want to teach them to also take responsibility, right? So there is that as well.
Okay. All right, so let's fast forward it, if we can. From this basic needs campaign, if you could envision, say, I don't know how long it would take, for argument's sake, let's say 10 years.
Yep.
And if we're able to support this through funds to help their basic needs, to help them move up, through the rungs of the Maslow pyramid, where could you potentially see like an area like this, say, like I said, maybe even just 10 years from now?
Yeah, and let me just mention something else. In addition to basic needs, like I said, there's a lot of skilled people in the Kybera. They make amazing products.
Wow, it's interesting.
And so, the point here is that we're trying to really build a oneness economy over there, beginning with basic needs, but also allowing them to make a lot of eco-friendly products that they can sell to the rest of the world. So it's not the case that it's just like we're trying to just fulfill basic needs and leave it. We're trying to help get them to help themselves through building things and creating things, and they're super talented. Now, here's the thing I think it's important to understand is that we, as in the West, we have a lot of money, but we have a choice about where we want to spend that money. We could spend that money on materialistic goods that don't really serve us or the planet, or we could choose to spend it on people who are really trying to better themselves, who are in need of help, who are making eco-friendly products. So that's kind of a choice that we kind of slowly maybe have to shift and maybe move away from the Amazon.coms over to like more of the decentralized, the people who are really struggling but who have a lot of talent. Mm-hmm. So that's point number one. And then also regarding, the vision, I do think if more and more people wake up in the West and we're like, hey, these guys have talent and we can support them, and they start thriving and they start taking care of their environment, I envision that we could start building communities over there, eco-friendly communities, instead of like these slum areas where they don't have clean water, they don't have education. So this could turn into a really big like movement where we're funding them, but we're also building up communities. They're building eco houses. They're cleaning up the area. It's like it could really inspire people, like I just feel like it could be huge.
It absolutely can. So let me ask you this. When do you see Maslow creating like another basic needs campaign, or do you guys want to get to a specific level with this first one, and then move on from that, or are you guys looking to add periodically as you move forward?
Yeah, so we're committed. On our website, I think we mentioned monthly basic needs campaigns, and that's our plan. We are ramping up, so it's not exactly like that right now. Okay. But we are planning on doing another basic needs campaign probably in the next few weeks, in addition to the first one we did. And I should also mention that the people in the Kybera, our team, they're also going out and doing basic needs campaigns on their own. That's how
Wow.
motivated and inspired they are by what's going on. But they, they would love your support and our support and everybody's support. So, if people start pitching in and buying these copper bracelets, that's going to enable us to keep doing this work. And, we're committed. We want to invest even more money, to tell you the truth. And but it all depends on scaling this up. That is a process. So we got to watch that.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's a wonderful vision, my friend. Again, I'm truly touched just to come to know you guys for what you're doing.
Thank you.
Okay, so we touched about the products. We touched about the basic needs campaign. Why don't you tell my listeners every single opportunity that they would have to reach out to Maslow to potentially help this basic needs campaign. Tell everyone, Rohit, how they find you guys, and if it's social media, websites, give us a lowdown, and just know that I will be following it up on the podcast. I will have all these links, as my friends know. And on the YouTube version of this podcast, I will be posting it as we're speaking as well, too, underneath right here where we are on screen. So to be seen. So tell my listeners, my friend, how do they get in touch with all things Maslow?
Sure. Let me just briefly mention, in addition to the basic needs campaign and economic opportunities, if anybody's interested, I'm sure your listeners are, in oneness and higher consciousness, we've got a ton of ideas that we're going to be writing about, creating videos about. So look forward to that. And that's kind of like our main value add for our subscribers. But if you want to learn more about us, one of the best places is through our website, www.themazlow, that's THEMAZLOW.com. And then secondly, or maybe even better, is through Instagram nowadays. I think that's really a growing channel. And at Instagram, I think the best way to find us is at the Maslow, so at THEMAZLOW _ I think is our name. I'm not an expert on Instagram. That would be Robbie's domain, but I think that's the best way to find us on Instagram. We create really cool posts, I think, that are nature and oneness.
Oh, they're great. I love
it. I think you really enjoy them. So look forward to more of that. And we hopefully in the future, as we scale, we'll be launching a YouTube channel. But for now, I think those are the two best places to find it.
Wonderful. And again, my friends, I'll be posting all these, and like I said, I'll be sharing stuff going forward forever, because I feel like I'm gonna be working with you guys at some capacity, because hey, we share it, man. It's all about it's all about the oneness.
Well, let me just show you this copper bracelet really quickly, in case.
Yeah, hold it up there for my friends. Yeah.
This is our made in the Kybera. It's recycled copper, and the band is recycled cotton. So what the people in the Kybera do is they go out on the streets and they pick up this recycled copper, and then they sell it. So it's like eco-friendly. It gives them job opportunities. It's a really cool looking bracelet. Yeah. And so
I just ordered my own.
Please check it out. And
I just ordered my own, friend, so I'm going to be getting that soon. I'm going to get a t-shirt for myself too, because like I said, anything that we can do, it's such a worthwhile cause, and it's so genuine too, to see how you guys are approaching this. But
thank you.
Like I said, I will be sharing all these sites again, my friends, and everyone can just stay in touch. So, all right, Rohit, what I do here, I just started this over the last couple of podcasts, so I like to put my guests on the proverbial spot, as they say. Okay. I'm going to put you on the spot.
Sure.
And it's easy, but I like to ask my guests just this one quick question, and I appreciate every way or any way that you could just answer it. But it has to do with Maslow, and it has to do with me as that oneness guy. So, Ro, let me ask you, here's the question.
Sure.
Why oneness?
Well, I don't think there's any other solution, to be honest with you. Let's look at the world today. We see division, we see tribalism, we see pollution of the oceans, we see pollution of the planet. People are at each other's throats. we're trying to tear each other down, and it's not working anymore. And it's time for us to remember that we're here to help each other, not to bring one another down. And whether you believe in higher consciousness or spirituality or just nature, it doesn't really matter. Like, the bottom line is, do you want to live in a world where we're supporting one another, where we're healing one another, we're living with a clean planet and everybody's provided for? Or do you want to live in a world that's disintegrating? And what is the answer? And to me, having thought about this for years and years and years, I see oneness as the answer. So that's my conclusion.
Wow. Rohit, you couldn't have said it more poetically and more perfectly. It's that's spot on. I agree with every syllable you uttered. I agree with.
Thank you.
Because as my friends here know, that this is, I've always said, it's our only opportunity, and it's potentially our like last opportunity, because nothing else works.
No.
You know, everything else just points to divisiveness and points to the separateness that you mentioned. Our only opportunity here for any kind of peace at all on this planet of ours is to come together through one, and the only way to us to get to that is through oneness, is by us knowing that we emanate from the same source, that it's not just the physical side of oneness, that we care for each other, that it's, you know.
Absolutely.
That was beautiful.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Robert. So, my friends, thank you again for listening to the podcast I call That Oneness Guy. This has been episode number 31, an interview with Maslow. If you've liked what you've been listening to, please take a moment to subscribe to this feed. You can find That Oneness Guy on any and all of your favorite podcasting sites and apps. And as an added bonus, episodes such as this one are also posted on my YouTube page as well. So you can see my wonderful guests like Rohit here, like I am right now. On my YouTube channel, it also includes obviously these podcasts, but it also has my vlogs and the many, many music videos that I've put out there over my decades as a musician and singer-songwriter. You'll also see interviews and performances too. So please do subscribe. All you have to do is just search for That Oneness Guy. And for all my social media friends out there, you know that you can find me on Twitter and Instagram. Again, just search for That Oneness Guy. And for the people who just like to look at websites, please visit, for my first book, go to iamgodbook.com. For all things me, Danny Rongo, and especially my music, you can find that on dannyrongo.com. And like I said, these podcasts and so much more are found on thatonenessguy.com. And finally, speaking of books, my second book of Oneness, The Ways of Oneness, Helping to Navigate Life, is now available on Amazon in a Kindle version. So for that, my friends, you can just go to amazon.com and just search for The Ways of Oneness, Helping to Navigate Life, and you'll find it there as a Kindle version. But my friend Rohit, thank you so much again. And I want to say to my friends out there, thank you as always. I am Danny Rongo. I am That Oneness Guy. So please look for my next show. And as always, I send you peace, love, light, and continued oneness. Namaste.